My wife Vanessa texted me from her marketing conference in Chicago, saying she'd decided to extend her stay another day to network with potential clients. I was grading essays when her boss called me directly, asking why she wasn't at the mandatory Monday morning meeting. That's when my world crumbled. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Hey Nate, this is Bryce Halpern from Vanessa's office. Is everything okay? She missed our big presentation today and isn't answering her phone. I set down my red pen, my stomach dropping. I'm sorry, what? She's at the conference in Chicago. Conference? What conference? We don't have anything scheduled this week. I've been trying to reach her since yesterday. I thanked him and hung up, my hands shaking. Vanessa had packed 2 massive suitcases for what she claimed was a 3-day business trip. I joked that she'd packed enough clothes for a week in Paris. Now I knew why. Walking through our Cleveland suburban home, everything felt different. The family photos on the mantel seemed to mock me. Our wedding picture from 8 years ago showed a woman I thought I knew. The Vanessa in that photo wouldn't lie about a business trip, or would she? I called her cell phone, straight to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Vanessa Carter. Leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Her cheerful voice made my skin crawl. I didn't leave a message. Instead, I did something I'd never done in our marriage. I searched through her things. In her nightstand drawer, beneath old magazines and lip balms, I found receipts. Dinner for 2 at Morton's Steakhouse downtown, a hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton, booked under her maiden name, Vanessa Brooks. The dates matched her supposed conference trip. My phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa. Having such a great time networking. The speakers here are incredible. Love you. I stared at the message, anger building in my chest. She was somewhere in Cleveland, probably with another man, lying to my face through text messages. I grabbed her iPad from the kitchen counter. She'd left it behind, probably figuring she wouldn't need it for her romantic getaway. Her messages were synced across devices. I scrolled through her texts with someone saved as B in her contacts. Can't wait to see you tonight. Room 412, like we planned. You looked incredible at lunch yesterday. I couldn't concentrate during the meeting. My husband thinks I'm at a conference. We have all weekend. The messages went back 3 months. 3 months of lies, secret meetings, and elaborate deceptions. I felt sick. My phone rang. Eddie Martinez, my best friend who owned a bar downtown. Hey man, want to grab a beer? You sound like you need one. Actually, yeah, I really do. Eddie's bar, the Rusty Anchor, was nearly empty on a Tuesday afternoon. Perfect for what I needed to discuss. I showed him the receipts and text messages, watching his expression change from confusion to anger. That cheating piece of garbage, Eddie muttered, sliding another beer across the bar. And she's stupid enough to leave a paper trail? What's your plan? I don't have one yet. I need to know who B is first. Eddie, a former police officer turned bar owner, had connections throughout Cleveland. Within 2 hours, he'd made some calls and had an answer. Bradford Mitchell, goes by Brad. He's a real estate developer, married, 2 kids, big house in Shaker Heights. His wife's name is Patricia. I felt the pieces clicking together. Vanessa had mentioned meeting with developers about marketing their properties. She'd been working late, taking calls in the other room, claiming it was sensitive client information. There's more, Eddie continued. My buddy at the Ritz-Carlton says they've been regular customers for months. Always the same room, always pays in cash. The betrayal cut deeper with each new detail. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a recent mistake. This was a calculated, ongoing affair. Vanessa had been living a double life, and I'd been too trusting to see it. That evening, I drove to the Ritz-Carlton downtown. Sure enough, Vanessa's silver Honda was in the parking garage. I sat in my car for an hour, watching, planning. Around 9 p.m., she emerged from the elevator with a tall man in an expensive suit. Bradford Mitchell looked exactly like the type of guy Vanessa would find attractive. Confident, wealthy, everything I wasn't. They kissed in the parking garage. Not a friendly peck, but a passionate embrace that made my stomach turn. I took photos with my phone, my hands trembling with rage. Vanessa was supposed to return home Thursday evening. I had 2 days to prepare. I called in sick to work and spent Wednesday morning at my lawyer's office. David Chen had handled our house purchase and would now handle my divorce. I explained the situation, showed him the evidence. This is pretty clear-cut adultery, he said, reviewing the photos and text messages. Ohio is a no-fault divorce state, but this will definitely help with asset division. Do you want to file immediately? Not yet. I want to handle this my way first. David raised an eyebrow but nodded. Just don't do anything illegal, Nate. I can't represent you if you end up in jail. Next stop, the bank. I withdrew half of our joint savings account, my legal right as a joint account holder. I opened a new checking account in my name only and transferred my direct deposit. If Vanessa wanted to play games, she'd discover that two could play. Wednesday afternoon, I called a locksmith. The house was in both our names, but I had every right to change the locks for security reasons. While he worked, I packed Vanessa's belongings into suitcases and boxes. I was methodical, careful not to damage anything. I wasn't a monster, just a man who'd been betrayed. I even folded her yoga pants properly. My mother raised me right. Thursday evening arrived. I sat in my living room, surrounded by Vanessa's packed belongings, waiting for her key to not work in the lock. At 8:47 p.m., I heard Vanessa's car in the driveway. Then the sound of her key scraping against the lock that no longer recognized it. The doorbell rang. Nate, open the door. My key isn't working. I opened the door slowly. Vanessa stood on the porch, confused and slightly panicked. Behind her, stacked neatly, were all her belongings. Oh, what's going on? Why are my things out here? How was the conference? I asked calmly. It was great. Very productive. But why? Funny thing, I interrupted. Your boss called Monday looking for you. Seems there was no conference. The color drained from Vanessa's face. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I know about Bradford Mitchell. I know about the Ritz-Carlton. I know about the 3 months of lies. She tried to push past me into the house. I blocked her way. Nate, let me explain. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been having an affair, lying to me, and treating our marriage like a joke. Vanessa's shock quickly turned to anger. You can't lock me out of my own house. This is illegal. Actually, it's not. I consulted a lawyer. The house is in both our names, which means I have every right to secure it. Your belongings are all here, undamaged. You can take them and go. Go where? This is my home. Should have thought about that before you started screwing Bradford Mitchell. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was walking her dog and clearly listening to every word. Vanessa noticed and lowered her voice. Please, Nate, can we talk about this inside, like adults? Adults don't lie about business trips to cover up affairs. Adults don't betray the people who love them. I handed her an envelope. Divorce papers. You can respond through your lawyer. Vanessa stared at the envelope like it might explode. You can't be serious. 8 years of marriage, and you're throwing it all away over one mistake? One mistake? Vanessa, this has been going on for months. You planned elaborate lies, booked hotel rooms, lived a completely separate life. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. She started crying then, but I felt nothing. The woman I'd loved was gone, replaced by a stranger who'd been manipulating me for months. Where am I supposed to go? She whispered. I don't care. Call Bradford. I'm sure he'll take you in. I stepped back and closed the door. Through the window, I watched Vanessa load her belongings into her car, crying and making phone calls. She sat in the driveway for another hour, probably hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed for the first time in months without the weight of deception hanging over me. I'd slept better than I had in weeks. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Vanessa and a dozen text messages ranging from apologetic to angry to desperate. I deleted them all without reading most of them. At school, word traveled fast. Teachers are worse gossips than students, and by lunch, everyone knew about my separation. The reactions were mixed. Some colleagues offered support and casseroles. Others seemed to think I was being too harsh. Maybe you should give her another chance, suggested Linda Walsh, the chemistry teacher. Marriage is work. People make mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk, I replied. Affairs are choices. But it was my friend group where things got really complicated. Vanessa and I had been part of a tight circle, 2 other couples who'd become our closest friends over the years. Mike and Jennifer Thompson, married 15 years with 2 kids. Tom and Sarah Rodriguez, newlyweds who looked up to us as relationship role models. Friday night, we'd had standing dinner plans at Mike and Jennifer's house. I showed up alone. Where's Vanessa? Jennifer asked, setting the table for 6 instead of 5. I explained the situation, showing them some of the evidence I'd discovered. The room went silent. Jesus, Nate, Mike said finally. I'm so sorry, man. But Sarah Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. Are you sure you're not overreacting? I mean, changing the lock seems pretty extreme. Extreme? She lied to me for months. But you didn't even try counseling, Sarah pressed. You just kicked her out and filed for divorce. That seems cold. Tom nodded in agreement with his wife. Maybe there's more to the story. Vanessa's always been so devoted to you. I stared at them, realizing that my friends, people I'd trusted for years, were taking my cheating wife's side. "Are you serious right now?" I asked. Jennifer tried to mediate. "I think what Sarah means is that marriage is complicated. Maybe Vanessa was feeling neglected or—" "Stop." I stood up from the table. "Just stop. There's no excuse for what she did. None." "We're not excusing it," Mike said quickly. "But you guys seemed so happy. Maybe if you'd communicated better." "Communicated better?" "I communicated fine. She's the one who was communicating with Bradford Mitchell in hotel rooms." The tension in the room was thick. These people, who I'd considered family, were making excuses for adultery because it made them uncomfortable to take sides. "I think I should go," I said. "Nate, don't leave angry," Jennifer pleaded. "We're just trying to understand." "Understand what? That my wife betrayed me and you think I should have seen it coming? That it's somehow my fault?" Sarah crossed her arms. "We're not saying it's your fault, but relationships don't just fall apart overnight. There had to be warning signs. The only warning sign I missed was that my friends would blame me for being cheated on." I left their house and drove straight to Eddie's bar. He took one look at my face and poured a double whiskey. "Let me guess. Your couple friends are being weird about the divorce. They think I overreacted, like I should have tried harder to save my marriage to a woman who's been lying to me for months." Eddie shook his head. "People hate divorce because it reminds them their own marriages aren't bulletproof. It's easier to blame you than admit that anyone can be betrayed. So I lose my wife and my friends. You lose the fake friends. The real ones will stick around." 2 weeks later, I was grading papers in my empty house when someone rang the doorbell. Through the window, I saw Mike Thompson on my porch, looking nervous. "Hey," he said when I opened the door. "Can we talk?" I let him in, curious about what he wanted to say. "I owe you an apology," Mike began. "Jennifer and I talked about what happened at dinner, and we were wrong. We were uncomfortable with the situation and took it out on you." "What changed your mind?" Mike looked embarrassed. "Vanessa called Jennifer yesterday. She was drunk and said some things that made it clear this affair was way more serious than we thought. She's been in love with this Bradford guy for months. She said she was planning to leave you anyway, but wanted to secure the relationship first." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Even knowing about the affair, learning that Vanessa had been planning to leave me was devastating. "There's more," Mike continued. "She asked Jennifer to convince you to take her back, not because she loves you, but because Bradford won't leave his wife. She's stuck and wants to come home until she figures out her next move." I sat down heavily on my couch. She was going to use me as a backup plan. "I'm so sorry, man. We should have supported you from the beginning. What she did was unforgivable." Mike's apology helped, but I was still angry at Tom and Sarah. They doubled down on their position that I was being too harsh, even going so far as to have lunch with Vanessa to hear her side of the story. The breaking point came at Jennifer's birthday party the following weekend. I almost didn't go, but Mike had personally asked me to come. The party was in full swing when I arrived, but conversation stopped when people saw me. The awkwardness was suffocating. I was getting a beer from the kitchen when Tom cornered me. "Look, Nate, I know things are weird between us, but we need to talk about this situation." "What situation?" "You're making everyone uncomfortable with this divorce drama. Maybe it's time to move on." I stared at him in disbelief. "Move on? It's been 3 weeks since I discovered my wife was cheating." "Right, but you're bringing everyone down with all this negativity. Sarah thinks you're being vindictive." "Vindictive? For getting divorced?" Tom glanced around, making sure no one was listening. "She heard you're trying to take half of everything Vanessa owns. That seems petty." "It's called divorce law, Tom. We split our assets." "But Vanessa's the one with the real career. The marketing job, the client relationships. You're just a teacher." The condescension in his voice made my blood boil. "Just a teacher? You know what I mean. She's the breadwinner. Maybe you should be more generous in the settlement." That's when I snapped. "Are you kidding me right now?" I said, loud enough that nearby conversation stopped. "My wife cheated on me for months, lied to my face, and planned to leave me for another man, and you think I should give her a generous settlement?" "Keep your voice down," Tom hissed. "No, I won't keep my voice down. I'm tired of tiptoeing around everyone's discomfort with my divorce. Vanessa betrayed me. She destroyed our marriage. And instead of supporting me, you're worried about her financial situation?" Sarah appeared at Tom's side. "What's going on?" "Your husband thinks I should be more generous to my cheating wife in our divorce settlement because I'm just a teacher." Sarah's face flushed. "That's not what he meant." "Then what did he mean?" "We just think you're handling this poorly. All this anger and bitterness isn't healthy." "You know what's not healthy? having friends who think adultery is forgivable, but divorce isn't. The party had essentially stopped. Everyone was staring at us now. "We're trying to help you," Sarah insisted, "by taking my wife's side, by making excuses for her affair, by suggesting I don't deserve half of our marital assets." Tom stepped forward. "We never took her side." "You had lunch with her last week. You told her we all missed her and hoped things would work out. That sounds like taking sides to me." "We were being supportive friends to both of you," Sarah said. "No, you were being supportive to her and judgmental to me? There's a difference." Jennifer tried to intervene. "Maybe we should all calm down and—" "I am calm," I interrupted. "I'm also done. Done with friends who think I should have tried harder to keep a woman who was planning to leave me anyway. Done with people who think teachers don't deserve equal treatment in divorce proceedings. Done with all of this." I headed for the door, but Tom grabbed my arm. "Don't leave like this, man. We can work through this." I shook off his grip. "There's nothing to work through. You made your choice when you decided my wife's feelings were more important than my friendship." "That's not fair," Sarah protested. "Fair?" I laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been supporting me when I discovered my marriage was a lie. Fair would have been recognizing that I'm the victim here, not Vanessa. Fair would have been acting like actual friends instead of marriage counselors for a relationship that was already dead." I walked out of the party, leaving behind 8 years of friendship along with 8 years of marriage. 3 months after discovering Vanessa's affair, I was finally ready for the final phase of my plan. The divorce was proceeding smoothly. Vanessa had hired a lawyer, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. I'd get half of everything, including her precious marketing business assets. But I wanted more than a fair financial settlement. I wanted justice. It started with a phone call to Patricia Mitchell, Bradford's wife. I'd been sitting on her contact information for weeks, waiting for the right moment. "Mrs. Mitchell, this is Nate Carter. I think we need to talk about our spouses." The conversation was awkward, but necessary. Patricia had suspected something was wrong. Bradford's late nights, mysterious phone calls, unexplained expenses. I provided the evidence she needed: photos, hotel receipts, text message screenshots. "I'm filing for divorce next week," she told me. "Bradford's going to lose everything. I've got the best lawyer in Cleveland." Phase 2 involved Vanessa's workplace. I'd done some research and discovered that her company had strict policies about employee conduct, especially regarding conflicts of interest and misuse of company resources. Vanessa had been using company credit cards for some of her hotel stays with Bradford, claiming they were client meetings. I sent an anonymous tip to her HR department with copies of the receipts and evidence of the affair. Within a week, Vanessa was suspended pending an investigation. But the real masterpiece was Phase 3. I'd learned through Eddie's connections that Tom and Sarah Rodriguez were having financial problems. Tom's construction business was struggling, and they were behind on their mortgage. They'd been too proud to ask for help, but they'd complained about money constantly at our group dinners. Sarah had been the most vocal critic of my divorce, constantly suggesting that I should forgive Vanessa and work on our marriage. She'd even gone so far as to say that I was throwing away something beautiful over a temporary mistake. So I decided to give Sarah a taste of her own medicine. I hired a private investigator, the same one my lawyer had recommended for gathering evidence in my divorce. His job was simple: follow Tom Rodriguez and document his activities. It took 2 weeks to hit pay dirt. Tom wasn't just struggling with his construction business, he was having an affair with his business partner's wife, Lisa Chen. They'd been meeting at cheap motels twice a week for months, while Tom complained to us about money problems and Sarah worked double shifts as a nurse to keep their household afloat. The irony was delicious. I called Sarah on a Thursday evening, asking if she wanted to grab coffee and talk about our friendship. She agreed, probably thinking I was ready to apologize for my behavior at Jennifer's party. We met at a Starbucks near her hospital. Sarah looked tired from her shift, but she smiled when she saw me. "I'm glad you called, Nate. I've been hoping we could work things out." "Actually, that's exactly why I wanted to talk," I said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. "I wanted to share something with you." Sarah opened the envelope and found photos of her husband with Lisa Chen. Her face went white as she flipped through the images. Tom and Lisa kissing in a parking lot, entering a motel room together, holding hands at a restaurant across town. "What is this?" she whispered. "It's your husband having an affair with Lisa Chen. They've been meeting twice a week for the past 4 months. Sarah stared at the photos, her hands shaking. "Where did you get these?" "I hired a private investigator, the same way I gathered evidence about Vanessa's affair." "Why would you do this to me?" I leaned forward. "Remember what you told me when I discovered Vanessa was cheating? You said I was overreacting. You said marriage was work and people make mistakes. You said I should be more forgiving. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. That's different. How is it different? Because Tom and I have real problems. Financial stress, work pressure. We've been struggling. And you think Vanessa and I didn't have problems? You think affairs just happen in perfect marriages? Sarah couldn't answer. She was staring at a photo of Tom and Lisa kissing passionately in a hotel parking lot. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to take those photos home and confront Tom. You're going to discover that he's been lying to you for months, just like Vanessa lied to me. And then you're going to decide whether to forgive him or divorce him. Nate, please don't do this. I'm not doing anything. Tom did this. Just like Vanessa did what she did. I'm just making sure you have the same information I had. Sarah was crying now, clutching the photos. What do you want from me? I want you to understand what it feels like to be betrayed by someone you trust. I want you to experience the humiliation of discovering your spouse has been living a double life. And then I want you to remember every judgmental thing you said to me about forgiveness and working on marriages. I stood up to leave, but Sarah grabbed my wrist. Please, Nate, don't tell anyone else about this. I need time to figure out what to do. Time? I thought affairs were just temporary mistakes that could be worked through with better communication. She let go of my wrist, defeated. For what it's worth, I added, I hope you make the right decision for yourself. Not the decision that makes other people comfortable, but the one that preserves your dignity and self-respect. I left Sarah crying in the Starbucks, clutching the evidence of her husband's betrayal. 2 days after my coffee meeting with Sarah, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Tom Rodriguez, and he was furious. What the hell is wrong with you, Nate? How could you destroy my marriage like this? I didn't destroy your marriage, Tom. You did that when you started sleeping with Lisa Chen. You hired a private investigator to spy on me. That's psychotic. It's thorough. Same way I investigated Vanessa's affair. This is completely different. How? Tom sputtered for a moment. Because Sarah and I were having real problems. We were struggling financially, emotionally. I made a mistake, but it wasn't malicious like what Vanessa did to you. I almost laughed. So your affair was justified because you had problems, but Vanessa's affair was unforgivable because we seemed happy? That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you're saying. When it's your marriage, there are explanations and justifications. When it was mine, I was supposed to be more forgiving. Sarah's devastated. She's talking about divorce. Good for her. She deserves better than a husband who cheats and lies. You don't understand. We have a mortgage, car payments. If we get divorced, we'll lose everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before you started your affair. Tom was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, pleading instead of angry. Look, I know I was wrong about your situation with Vanessa. I should have been more supportive. But this is revenge, pure and simple. You're right. It is revenge, and it feels fantastic. Come on, man. We've been friends for years. Friends don't tell friends they're overreacting to adultery. Friends don't suggest that teachers don't deserve equal treatment in divorce proceedings. Friends don't have lunch with your cheating wife and tell her they hope things work out. I was trying to help both of you. You were trying to avoid taking sides because taking sides made you uncomfortable. Well, guess what? Sometimes life is uncomfortable. Sometimes people you trust betray you. Sometimes marriages end badly. And sometimes friends have to choose between supporting the victim or the perpetrator. So this is punishment for not supporting you enough? This is a lesson in empathy. You couldn't understand what I was going through because you'd never experienced it. Now you have. Tom hung up on me. An hour later, Sarah called. I confronted Tom last night, she said quietly. He admitted everything. The affair, the lies, all of it. How do you feel? Destroyed, humiliated, angry, like my entire marriage has been a lie. Now you know how I felt. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I owe you an apology. A huge apology. I had no idea what you were going through. I thought I was being helpful, but I was just making it worse. Yes, you were. Tom wants to go to counseling. He says he'll end things with Lisa, that we can work through this. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to try, but every time I look at him, I see those photos. I keep thinking about all the times he lied to my face, all the nights he came home from being with her and kissed me goodnight. That feeling doesn't go away, I told her. Even if you forgive him, you'll never trust him the same way again. Is that why you divorced Vanessa? Because you couldn't forgive her? I divorced Vanessa because she didn't deserve forgiveness. She planned her affair for months. She was going to leave me anyway. I just beat her to it. Sarah started crying again. I'm so sorry, Nate. I'm sorry for everything I said, for not supporting you, for judging you. I was so wrong. Yes, you were. But now you understand. What should I do about Tom? That's not my decision to make. But whatever you choose, make sure it's what you can live with, not what other people think you should do. Sarah filed for divorce the following week. 6 months after discovering Vanessa's affair, I was sitting in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. The settlement was everything I'd hoped for. Half of our joint assets, including half the value of Vanessa's marketing business. She's not happy about the business valuation, David Chen told me, but the judge was clear. Assets acquired during marriage are marital property, regardless of who built them. What's she going to do now? Probably sell her half of the business to her partners. She needs the cash since she lost her job. Vanessa's company had fired her after their investigation revealed she'd been using company resources for personal affairs. Bradford Mitchell had been forced to resign from his real estate development firm when his wife's divorce proceedings became public. The scandal had cost him several major clients who didn't want to be associated with the drama. Both Vanessa and Bradford had lost their careers, their marriages, and their reputations. They'd ended up together, but in a studio apartment in a bad part of town, both struggling to find new jobs in their respective industries. Meanwhile, I'd been promoted to department head at my school. Turns out, being just a teacher was more valuable than Tom Rodriguez had realized. The final piece of my revenge came together perfectly. I was having dinner at Eddie's bar when Jennifer Thompson walked in. She looked surprised to see me, but came over to my table. "Hey, Nate, how are you holding up?" "Great, actually. Best I've felt in years?" Jennifer sat down across from me. "I heard about Tom and Sarah. That's awful." "Is it? I thought affairs were just mistakes that could be worked through with better communication." She winced. "We were wrong about your situation, all of us. I'm sorry." "Are you still friends with Vanessa?" "No. After everything came out about her planning to leave you, and the way she lost her job, it was clear we didn't really know her at all." I nodded. People show you who they really are when they think they can get away with it. Tom's been calling Mike, asking for help with his legal bills. The divorce is getting expensive. "I bet it is." Jennifer studied my face. "You're not going to help him, are you?" "Why would I?" He made it clear that I was being too harsh with my cheating wife. He should practice what he preached and be more forgiving with his own situation. But he's struggling. The construction business failed, he's living in a one-bedroom apartment, and Lisa Chen went back to her husband. Sounds like the consequences of his choices. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. "Don't you think you've gotten enough revenge? Tom and Sarah are both miserable. Their lives are ruined." I leaned back in my chair. "Funny, isn't it? When my life was falling apart, you told me to handle it better. Too emotional, too vindictive, too harsh. But now that Tom's paying for his affair, suddenly I should be compassionate? That's different." "How?" Jennifer had no answer. "You all made me feel like garbage for refusing to forgive Vanessa. You made me question myself. But you weren't trying to help. You were trying to stay comfortable. You wanted me to reconcile so you could keep pretending marriages don't collapse." She stared at her hands. "Maybe you're right." "I know I'm right. Tom can deal with the same humiliation and fallout I did. I'm not pretending it's salvageable." "So you'll never forgive us?" "I forgave myself for trusting the wrong people. That's enough." When she pleaded for our friendship, I told her the truth. "You showed me who you are. When I needed loyalty, you chose my cheating wife. Consequences last forever." I left her sitting alone, the way she'd left me. The end. Don't forget to hit, like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.